Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back in with you guys for another show, for another episode of our Raw Reaction series, a show in which we react to the latest Arsenal news, matches, fixtures, transfers, everything. And Arsenal are back and again after a 1-0 victory against AFC Bournemouth, which is, I thought it'd be more, what's the word I want to go for? Well, for more of a confident victory, wouldn't be as squeaky towards the end, but Arsenal have had to do it a little bit dirty today and really come through with a clean sheet at home, which is positive. But of course, most importantly, the 3 points, which is of a David Luiz header. I mean, of all things, a David Luiz header. But you are here to get your reaction, your questions, your thoughts heard in our chat box. And you are all here to do that. So we've got Avon in here. We've got Thomas Lear. We've got Javier. We've got Omer. We've got Omar in here as well. Plenty of you guys are tuning in this evening. We've got Andy Smith, South London's finest B, Avon again. Thank you ever so much for tuning in. If you're enjoying the series, please give it a like. Please subscribe if you're new around here with those notifications turned on. But let's get to talking about today's game. It wasn't the most exciting, it's fair to say. I think it's one of those games where you have those gritty performances throughout the season, but they're the games in which you can really be punished at times when you make mistakes on the pitch. And I think that today we rode our luck in certain areas of the pitch for sure. We're going to come on to some of that. But overall, I think you can say it was a solid 7 out of 10 performance. There wasn't anyone that particularly stood out for me besides maybe Callum Chambers. I thought everyone had a decent game. Aubameyang couldn't get on the score sheet. Neither could Saka, neither could Pepe. And Martinelli couldn't when he came on either. Now, there's other results that have happened this weekend that I think are going to take more of the limelight over our actual game. Of course, seeing those lot down the road lose 3-0 against Brighton was fantastic. Man City just losing to Wolves now, 2-0, I believe it is, unless that last goal's been chalked off of VAR, but I don't think it has. All of these things are contributing to Arsenal now looking much, much healthier in the table. I mean, if we look at the table right now, Liverpool are going to win the league. I think that is a given at this stage. The gap between them and Man City is now 8 points, which is absolutely huge. Arsenal are in third now on 15 points, 1 point behind Manchester City. Leicester City on 14 points, Chelsea on 14, and Crystal Palace also on 14, with Burnley on 12, West Ham on 12, Spurs in 9th, and Manchester United are in 12th on 9 points. So 6 points ahead of Manchester United. Now, imagine if we'd have taken a win against those lot at Old Trafford, we would be currently second in the table. So there's been a lot of criticism, a lot of people saying that Emery needs to move on. This isn't good enough. And yet we are sitting third in the table, looking rather pretty, with a series of fixtures coming up until the I think it's the Manchester City game, where we're looking pretty good, pretty sweet. And actually, the Man City game, each week we watch them play, looks even more viable as a possible potential game in to get points. And that may be sounding too confident after, of course, a really quite average performance, it's fair to say. But at the end of the day, we're only 1 point behind City and we need to push ourselves as much as feasibly possible. And today was a really gritty performance in which we took all 3 points. Let's get some of your thoughts from the live chat then. Tal says, against Chelsea, City or Liverpool, we have to play a lot better. Eric Wee says, we only have 2 goal different after 8 games. Yeah, defensively needs to be looked at, but kept a clean sheet today, which is good. Crypto Nigel Alliance says, cracking effort from the lads today. Dug out a good 3 points. It was great to see Leno, Papa and Luiz celebrating the clean sheet. Dane says, good 3 points, but still no creativity. Omar says, we are third, can't complain. Robin S says, Kolasinac was awful. He's never in position. O'Malley says, Kolasinac final ball is extremely poor. So let's start with talking about the actual lineup in itself. We decided to continue with our back line being Chambers, Socrates, Luiz and Kolasinac. Now, Tierney was on the bench. A lot of people thought he might have come in after his performance against Standard Liège. Bellerin wasn't in the squad, and there was another person who wasn't in the squad, which we'll talk about a little bit in a second. But I think when we talk about Kolasinac, we know what he offers for us. Going forwards, he's okay. I maybe in a previous show may have exaggerated how good he is going forwards. But I think that when you look at what Kolasinac brings, he was tenacious, he was strong, he did some decent things. But yes, I can see the areas where we can see that maybe he is, or not even maybe, it's most definitely he can get caught out of the back far too easily. And that is a problem going forwards. But Kieran Tierney coming into these fixtures going ahead, I think it's going to be a real opportunity for him to make that position his own, to make himself a starter in the first team and see Kolasinac maybe demoted into that Europa League side, which I'm absolutely fine with at the end of the day. But I thought it was great to see the back line have a decent day. Defending was good. Socrates did well. David Luiz did really well as again. Of course, he got the goal. Really great to see the Brazilian score his first goal in Arsenal colours. A very typical David Luiz header from a corner, which was put in by Pepe, which segues nicely onto the next thing I wanted to talk about. Whilst again, he didn't look massively dangerous again. And I think we're still going to have to give him time, as we're being told. But he got an assist, which is good. That'll be good for his confidence moving forwards. And I think that if Pepe can get a few more goal contributions, be it goals or assists, anything that's going to help him stack up those statistics and get him onside is obviously a positive thing. And it's finally nice to see some of these corners being taken and beating the first man. It's amazing what happens when we're able to do that. Let's see what some of you guys are saying about those. Omar says, Luiz was brilliant. Chambers was my man of the match. He was outstanding. Angie said, Pepe had a good first half. Robin S says, Rory, good luck to Bella in dislodging Chambers. Yeah, I think that in terms of where Callum Chambers was in that back line, he was probably the man of the match of the day. He was brilliant. He was tenacious. He won the ball back. His tackling was strong. Even his deliveries weren't bad at times. It's just the way he never seems to give up, that he's desperate to try and win that ball back. I still don't think he's a right back. But I think his defensive qualities show that there's potential that we could possibly have Holding and Chambers and Bellerin and Tierney in a backline that is really, really going to start impressing. And I can't wait to see if that's feasible. I would like that to be a backline in the Europa League at some point, just to sort of see how that goes, maybe in the home leg against Frankfurt, against a stronger side, just to test it out. But it's going to be really intriguing to see. Jesse Taylor says Chambers should play at DM. Andy Smith says Chambers was excellent, needs to continue. Rhino says that Tierney's delivery is better than Kolasinac's. Robin S says, yeah, agreed, not a right back, but what is his best position? I think that centre back is still a very decent position for him. At DM, I don't think that he's the right for the DM. I don't think he's quick enough. I don't think he's got the turn of pace that he needs to play that role, especially when we're hit on the counter. I think that he's got defensive capabilities that mean he can play at centre-back. But at DM, for Fulham, it worked. And it worked because of the system that they played. But we just aren't that team. We just don't play that same way that Ranieri tried to get at Fulham. We just don't have that about us. So I'm very much in favour of seeing Callum Chambers tried out at centre-back in the future next to Rob Holding. But the experience of Socrates and David Luiz definitely shined through today. Olo says Chambers can't be worse than Xhaka at DM. I mean, we obviously need to criticise players when they have bad games, but I thought today Granit Xhaka was solid. His passing was good, sprayed the ball left and right. And that's what you need from him at times. You need him to be that guy that keeps the play ticking over. I actually noticed that he dropped back quite a lot into the back four, becoming a back five at times, or seeing Socrates push slightly further up, or David Luiz foot slightly further up, and Xhaka dropped in positionally. He was very, very good today, and I don't think you can take that away from him. Yes, I get people don't like Granit Xhaka, and I've definitely hugely criticised him very recently. But at the same time, if he puts in a good performance, you've got to turn around and say fair play to him. Eric Wee says we are playing 4-4-1-1 or 4-2-3-1 while attacking, which is so much better than the 4-3-3 with Torreira playing at centre mid. Midnight says only 2 shots on target. Again, we're not creating as many chances as we might need to. Omar says that Xhaka was terrible. I don't really agree with that. Jibril says Sabas is not the answer to our lack of creativity. No, he's not. He's not. Yes, Sabas is a really tricky one because he is a creative player. He's not the answer to our creativity, I don't think, because he can't do it just by himself. I think he adds a lot to the side, but I think we still need a lot more from the likes of Pepe and Saka and coming from wide positions to really get this team clicking. And that will come with time and the more time these guys play together. But I don't think that Sabas can be on his own the guy that we need. Gio says, greetings from Jamaica. I think we should get Chan from Juve in January on loan. I think we can do better than Chan, to be honest. Robin says that we're struggling to replace Ramsey and Laka out of the team. It shows we've stopped playing a 10 behind the striker. Sharky says Martinelli has to be first choice now. Saka didn't have the best game. He might not have had the best game, but I think that you can't just supersede someone. I mean, it's very easy to get latched on to the fact that Martinelli had a fantastic game against Standard Liège. And then when he came on today, he made a couple of mistakes. The tackle on Harry Wilson was rash. He held on to the ball for a little bit too long than he needed to. But these are all things that come with experience, and he will improve a lot. And hopefully, we should see him in the first team a lot more. I don't think you should just take Saka out just because he didn't particularly do too much today. I thought he was fine, but I actually think that Saka has huge amounts of potential in that position at left wing, and I wouldn't really like to dislodge him at this place in time because I think it would just hit his confidence. If it means we're overplaying him, then we need to be careful about rotation. But at this point, I'm quite happy to see this continue moving forwards. Devendra says, from Agent Luiz to Sergeant Luiz. Thomas Lee says, anyone missing Ozil? Now, let's talk about the Ozil thing. Again, out of the squad once again. So was Reiss Nelson, actually, in terms of the players that were left out. The subs bench today was Kieran Tierney, Torreira, Maitland-Niles, Holding, Martinez, Willock and Martinelli. So no Reiss Nelson, which is slightly surprising because I'm thinking if you look at that back line, you've got Ainsley Maitland-Niles, who can play midfield but is never going to come on that role. He would come on at right back. You've got Rob Holding, you've got Joe Willock, you've got Martinelli and Torreira. Like Torreira, Maitland-Niles and Willock are all midfielders. And for me, I would take Maitland-Niles out of that and put Reiss Nelson in just to provide that little bit extra because you only really have Martinelli and Willock giving us something going forwards, maybe Tierney to a lesser extent. So if we were in trouble, I think Nelson should have been the guy to make the team. I don't know if there was an injury for why he wasn't in the squad, but I just think that maybe you should have brought Nelson into that subs bench to be a little bit more secure if we needed something a bit more moving forward. Ashwin says, Ozil's days are numbered. All the best. Awolo says, can't wait to have Tierney and Bellerin back. South Finest B, I've just seen your question shoot up there. He says, Tom, do you reckon Bruno Fernandes is what we need at Cam? I remember your video on him a couple of years ago. Yes, he most 100% is. I have horrible feeling he's going to either end up at Man United or Spurs to replace Christian Eriksen. But he would be brilliant, and I would absolutely break the bank to get him if we had the money available to us. Daddy Spark says, Tom, we played well and we won. We are just used to complaining for nothing. I think, yes, ultimately we did win, and that is the thing that we take away from this. We got a clean sheet. It was a gritty performance, and ultimately that's all you really need from something like this. So I'm very happy with the performance. I'm very happy that we got the 3 points. I think that Leno played well. He stepped up when he needed to. A lot of people have been turning around and saying, oh, Martinez is playing great in Europa. That's great. But Leno's not really done much, if anything, wrong. So I don't think we can start shouting saying Martinez needs to come in. It's just that classic new toy syndrome where you just want to see something new. I'm happy with what's going on here. I'm happy with what Emery's doing at the moment in terms of the team decisions. And I think that Tierney and Bellerin will come in after the international break, and there was no need to rush them in. We've seen that we've played these games and we're still unbeaten. I think we're unbeaten in 7 now. Last time we lost was against Liverpool, I think. So it's gone underrated what we're doing at the moment. Yes, there's been some frustrating games like against Watford and like against Manchester United, but ultimately I think we've quietly just sort of got on with things. I think the Aston Villa result, had we not won that, could have changed things hugely, and that was a big turning point. But 10 men coming back and winning that game was huge for us. A few more comments before we wrap things up. Stick says we didn't do well in the second half, not at all. Paul Vanfield says, why does Xhaka start over Torreira? I just think Emery trusts him way more than what he trusts Torreira. Hamza says, why Arsenal sit back against lower oppositions? Man United, Bournemouth and Watford. I think that I don't necessarily think we sat back. I just think that the style that we play invites a lot of pressure, and that really doesn't help us. Sharky says, I honestly think it's going to be hard for Lacazette to get back in this team. I think we might see a little bit of rotation between Lacazette and Aubameyang going forwards. Greetings from Jamaica. Chambers would do well as a DM, says DS Electronics Unlimited. Carl Halberg says, the Man City result shows we have no divine right to play teams off the park, even at home. Good job, Arsenal. Corey Burnside says, it hurts our play massively when Sabas isn't on the pitch. He's definitely great at driving that ball forwards. Very lucky win. Emery is a joke. Ozil should start, says AA. I don't think, in my opinion, Ozil would have added anything different to what we had today. I think that, in fact, if we'd have played Ozil in this game, Bournemouth might have had a little bit more fortuitiveness in the midfield, definitely in terms of them attacking us. So I don't buy into that. I don't think Ozil would have influenced too much whatsoever. And actually, I'm quite happy with the lineup without Ozil in it, to be honest. And I think he should be moved on in January. It's just my opinion. Hit the like button, please. Let's hit the like button, guys, if you're enjoying the show. Nagumba says, improve the mid and the top three is very valid. A Blue Whale says that Ozil fanboys are on strings. Love to see it. I don't think there's anything against Ozil necessarily. I just think that, for me, I don't see a place for him in this team anymore. I don't see what he would add that we don't have without taking things away from the midfield. If you put him in instead of Sabas, you lose a lot of running, you lose a lot of tenacity and dynamism. Yes, you may get a little bit more creativity, but I don't think Ozil actually gives you that. Elite Alpha Male says Ozil was only made a captain because of his age. Chris Akumi says opinions on Saka. We have talked briefly about it a little bit. I think he was fine today. I don't think he was amazing. But you got to remember, the kid's 18. The kid's 18 years old. We can't be just all of a sudden judging every fine detail of performance, because the bottom line is, the bedrock of the argument is that he's only 18 years old. And I think that supersedes anything else that you could really say about him as a criticism, because any criticism that there is will always come back to inexperience and the fact that this is a huge opportunity. And whilst, yes, as Omar says, he was quiet today, I don't think he was quiet in a way that was bad. I still thought he was better than some of the other players on the pitch. Maybe not better than Pepe, but Pepe didn't really offer too much besides the corner. A couple of nice runs, a couple of nice passes, but he is, as Mustafa Money there says, he is all left foot, and that makes him extremely predictable. And you might be able to get away with that stuff in Liga, but in the Premier League, he's been found out, and he's getting found out week on week on week. Luiz says, hi, Tom. Do you think Pepe will find confidence and form sometime this season, or will we have to wait till next season? I genuinely think, from looking at him, that it's going to take at least a season for him to really bed in at the club. And that's a shame, because we've seen players like Lacazette come from Liga and absolutely hit the ground running. We've seen Guendouzi come in, hit the ground running. But for Pepe, it's not been as smooth of a transition, and I think that is going to impact us going forwards of sort of where we place this guy. O'Malley says folks need to respect when the players put in a good defensive shift, which they did. Good win today. Guendouzi was man of the match again, says Gershom. Man, I have to put either Guendouzi or Callum Chambers at the man of the match position. I just think that both of them today, I mean, Guendouzi is just a special player. I mean, I think that sacrificing Sven Mislintat to get Edu is probably the right decision. It's not like we sacrificed him to get him, but moving him on so we've got a more collaborative and a board that gels together, a structure that gels together, is better. But my God, did Sven Mislintat find an absolute gem with Matteo Guendouzi, and I'm absolutely buzzing that we've got him in our side. Vincent says, Tom, I do still believe that as soon as Tierney and Bellerin are fit enough to start, we will gain more pace and pressing, as Kolasinac and Chambers ain't going to give us that. The intensity fell off towards the end. It definitely did. But what I should say is something that I'm really critical of usually, is that actually the intensity in the first half, chasing the ball down, pressuring the players, forcing them into errors, that was evident a lot more today than it usually is. Chambers man of the match says crypto. Corey Burnside says, why did he keep Saka on and take Pepe off? Salah is massively left-footed. It isn't a problem. He is, but I just think that it's his confidence and his lower centre of gravity as well helps with Salah. And he's just a better player, Salah, than Pepe is right now, and there's not much you can disagree with that statement. Pommy Gooner says, sometimes you just got to take the win. Other times in the past we could have crumbled. Compared to other results this weekend, I'm okay with the 3 points, even though it wasn't pretty. Getting 3 points over Man City, getting 3 points over Spurs, and we don't know what's going to happen in the Newcastle-Manchester United game either. There's a chance that Newcastle could pull something off there. So if they do, that's going to be big for us. Robinette says Martinelli was brilliant at pressing and harrying. Again, he's very, very enthusiastic. Quinton says Martinelli work rate is insane. Saka looking like a £72 million player. Nagumba says, come on, boys, we should aim for a top 3 spot. Victor Augusto says Martinelli was okay, but Pepe was off. But Pepe off was an error. Crypto says this was the best game Pepe had for us. He did well. Carl Gordon says City is crumbling. We can get second. Cole Helberg wants Toon to win 5-0 against Man United. Oh, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? Jesse Taylor says desperately we need some goals from midfield, but from who? I think Willock is the best chance we have at getting goals from midfield, and I think Willock needs to get into this team into a lot more. The problem is he's competing in Emery's system with Danny Sabas for that position, and that is a very, very tough competition that he's got there to try and take that role. Ozil Gooner says, usually with the defence and the midfield, we expect to concede a few goals, especially since Bournemouth are an attacking team, so to keep a clean sheet is good. Eric Wee says, Liverpool only won the match yesterday with a penalty on 90 mins, but no one said they are lucky. Why so harsh to Arsenal? A win is a win. Avon Teddington says, nearly everyone in the quick take predicted 3-1 or 2-1 to the Arsenal, so how does this stack up? I think that I predicted 3-0. I thought we'd keep a clean sheet, and that gives you an extra point. There are points for getting either side of the scoreline correct. So, I mean, I'm glad I took the extra point in that respect. But I don't know if people just think our defence is a lot worse than maybe it actually is. Maybe that we're so sure that we're going to concede that we imagine that we're going to concede. Therefore, any prediction for any game means that we're going to concede, that we predict that we're going to concede a goal. And I certainly did that with the Europa League game against Standard Liège. I said we'd win 5-1. I thought we would win convincingly, and we did. But I was just so sure that we would concede a goal because defensively we've got a record of being quite poor. But maybe, actually, we're a little bit better than maybe we give ourselves credit for. I'm going to wrap things up there. Thank you ever so much, people, for tuning in today. If you've enjoyed it, please give it a like. Please subscribe if you're new around here with those notifications turned on. If you're watching on playback, please give those comments a hit and put your opinion about what you thought today, what you thought of my opinions on the game. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Who was your man of the match? And what are you going to be doing to fill the time between now and our next game, which I believe is against Sheffield United on another international break? I am so done with these international breaks already. I feel like we've had 20 already. We've only had, I think, 2. There's just so many. But thank you ever so much for people who've tuned in. Thomas Lear, thank you. Omar, thank you very much. Thank you, Robin S, for tuning in. Thank you, Jesse Taylor. Naresh, winning is what matters. He definitely sums that up perfectly. Probably the best place to finish this off. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you again very, very soon, I'm sure, for some shows throughout the international break, breaking down some key tactical areas on the pitch. We can have some discussions, some Q&As as well, I'm sure. Lots of stuff to do, maybe some interviews as well. We'll have to wait and see. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and your Sunday, whatever is up. And a little tease. But these surroundings that you can see, obviously I'm still at home right now. They might be changing soon, but I'm going to give you a little bit more information about that when I have it. So just a little tease. Got some exciting personal life stuff going on that, you know, has been, I'm not going to lie, a little bit helped by you guys. So thank you ever so much for tuning in. I really, really appreciate it. And as always, up the Arsenal.